Hey, what's up? We're in the next part. To gauge your bearings, please go check out the previous part. Had to use the bathroom in the middle, so I'm moisturizing my washed hands. Okay, Nekibuwa in the previous part about how it is that the Lord has put a sword between the righteous and the unrighteous. He has put enmity between mother and daughter. He has put enmity between brother and sister. And he has put enmity between worshippers of Christ in the country and those that don't honor him. And he has made countries that call themselves Christian essentially confess that they don't really love God in the way that they persecute their believers. Okay? And I spoke about how it is that Satan absolutely adores for the life of him to cause so much calamity in a person's life precisely for the purpose of causing them to second guess God. But that is also how God, or rather Satan, is copying God's strategy. God tests the church through trial and affliction, but God also sifts he sifts us like wheat through trial and persecution, but he also separates the wheat from the tares with persecution. He uses hardship to differentiate between his disciples and those that don't know him. And so Satan prospers during the season. It's almost as if though when God brings calamity on the ground to separate wheat from the tares, that's when the devils go to work. They go to work to say, okay, so God has allowed calamity. God has brought down this thing, or God has left me or given me permission to afflict this person this way. This is when you get to make them renounce. This is when you get them to bash their fist up at God. This is when. And I'm trying to get people to therefore understand that the calamity that is falling in South Africa, in my land, and likely the lands across the world, the calamities that are falling in these countries of ours are there for the purpose of separating the wheat from the tares. The sickle at the end of the ages, the harvest. Do you understand? The purpose for the devastation of countries across the world, the activity on the ground that is so disturbing to gaze upon, is to say, come in or stay out. Come in or stay out. It is to say, in these tests, you must endure, because the next move is a reaping. And so as the body of Christ, we have got to highlight to people that God has not so much abandoned your countries. It is precisely because your countries are under so much judgment that the Lord has not so much abandoned them, but allowed an alarm, a siren to go off, that you might wake up and recognize that you don't have much time. When things are la-di-da and in peace in a country, the incentive to do a better thing tomorrow, anticipating that tomorrow might not come or might come easily, is lost. But when things are harsh, you have to make a decision now, like pressure now. And so if God is allowing there to be heightened pressure, it means he is ready to do something very ubiquitous, general, that is going to devastate everybody that did not honor him, but that is also going to rescue everybody that did honor him. We are falling apart at the seams as countries because we are at the very end of things. And it is precisely because we are at the very end of things and things are falling apart that everybody is most especially now super pagan, super heathen, super witchy, super abusive. It is precisely all that moral turpitude written in 2 Timothy 3 is precisely that way, because the earth is starting to become more and more insufferable. More and more insufferable. So people are getting angry at God when they brought about his wrath. They are the ones that walked in a darkness that brought about his hand, his hard hand on their ecosystem. And I'm trying to help them literally snap out of being angry at God. Stop, you don't get to be angry at God and be okay. He's God. And what's happening on the ground, you literally had it coming. If anything, it's mild in comparison to what you deserve. South Africa is under judgment, and I came out of nightmares this morning that showed me just how far gone we are, just how bad the situation is. And you guys, I'm pleading for my land. I'm standing in the gap. I'm like Aaron with a staff, do you understand? Trying to prevent God dropping more dominoes. I am sorrowful for them because I am sorrowful for my family. It largely is about my family and my former friends. And so therefore, by collateral benefit, the whole country is sort of kind of stood in the gap for. I want to go home. My life sucks. I'm tired of the wickedness of my land. But after seeing what I saw, I'm like, I'm living outside of the matrix. In squalor, eating porridge every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I am bored. I don't have a life. I don't have a career. I'm smart and yet I can't use my brain. All that jazz. All good and well. But what in the world is about to happen to that wicked cousin of mine? So I recently come out of watching the show on Netflix called Alice in Borderland. It's quite violent. Alright, as in very graphic, how people there die. It's one of those game show movies where an elite bunch of people watch a whole bunch of suffering people on the ground get killed in games they're playing. If you lose the game, you die. And the way you die, sometimes it's just like there's this one scene or this one section of the show where people die by sulfuric acid, and they show everything, like everything. Why I allow myself to watch such things sometimes is because I have a thorough understanding and a comprehension that these things are going to happen, and that this is how the world actually is. It's like Alice in Borderland. Now, what is Borderland? Borderland is what they call, what in the movie, ultimately, if you watch it not movie, it's a series on Netflix. I wouldn't recommend you watch it if you're squeamish, okay? The beginning, sorry, it is the phase, the transitory phase that people are in before they finally die. In the sense that, like an NDE, like you are being resuscitated in hospital. Do you understand? You could die, but how you do in the games determine if at all you make it, if you get to go back to the world that you know, where everybody's all over the show, all over Tokyo, Japan, or if you just perish, period. It is the transitory mediating phase between life and death, before afterlife. Basically the place that people go when they've got near-death experiences. And in this NDE phase, kids or people, all the people that are in it, all the people that are in Borderland, that are in the middle of life and death, they have got to basically fight and play these horrible games to go back to living. The entertainment industry is run by Satan, and Satan knows the Bible better even than some Christians. The devil knows how things work, and so he keeps on whispering into the ears of his servants how to depict reality to them in a way that will make them think it's fiction. The wars that demons play with people's minds when they're in Borderland, in other words, before they die, are in this show. I don't know how many near-death experiences I have listened to of people who have been shown a tunnel or light at the end of a tunnel. They have seen dead relatives. They have seen spirit guides, like people who are not born again in Christ, like unredeemed souls who see an afterlife that's feasible to live, or people who do experience torture of some sort and then come back and are all freaked out that, oh, I know what happens when we die. There's this one guy who has a testimony on YouTube that he was in boiling water, and when he was resuscitated he was relieved, but now he fears death perpetually because he doesn't even know what to do. He hasn't been given the gospel. He doesn't know that he was essentially like suspended between hell and the earth. And then there are those, of course, that go to heaven and wonder because they're believers. The majority of the earth is deceived and doesn't know that there is hell when they die. Do you understand? And Borderland is this place where Satan and his demons play with people's minds, that even if they do find themselves waking up in normal, thriving society, that they will not turn to God, that they will believe something other than Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And then there are those that he prospers to make die in that space and not fight for their lives again. At the end of Alice in Borderland, there are these two guys that choose to stay in this limbo phase. They choose to stay there because they hated their lives when in waking space, like in the world out there that we know as the one that I'm in, that you're in. They hated their life so much. The one guy was a serial rapist and he was facing prosecution, and the other dude just was sick and tired and fed up of the human race and how his life sucked. And so when the whole decision at the end was given them a choice to either go back to their lives as they knew it or stay in Borderland, they stayed in Borderland. The devil convinces people to stay in the land of the dead that are lost. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that once the silver cord is cut, so that once the Lord allows them to be severed from life altogether, that they can wake up in a rather more ominous reality that is eternal condemnation, and then they will regret not making a decision to live. That's how Satan convinces a lot of people to let go when they're being resuscitated in hospital. It's what he uses to cause a lot of people to let go when they've just encountered some kind of trauma to their bodies that could end their lives, and they don't hold on, they don't fight to come back. He makes them leave so that they can be eternally condemned, type thing. So this show is something that but Satan is using to show the world that there is a limbo that y'all go into if at all you're not quite dead, but you're about to die, where me and my demons work real hard to make a lot of you just give up. to make a lot of you die in borderland and not come back so you can hear the gospel. And in this like borderland, let's move to the next part because I'm out of my time range.